I have a confession to make. I love cereal. But let's be honest, it's not been a performance-enhancing food until now. Magic Spoon is the new breakfast cereal with zero sugar. In each serving, there's 11 grams of protein and only 3 net carbs and 110 calories. Guys, they got 4 flavors that you gotta try. Cocoa, fruity, frosted, and blueberry. My favorite is frosted, but I want you to try it for yourself. Magic Spoon tastes amazing. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. Click the link to grab a variety pack. Be sure to use the promo code Chael at checkout, and you're going to get free shipping. Or go to magicspoon.com/Chael. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product. It's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you try it and you don't like it for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Click the link below and use the promo code Chael. That will get you free shipping, or go to magicspoon.com/Chael. Sean O'Malley and Cheeto Vera, in many ways, this isn't a huge surprise. Look, if you're at 135 pounds, you're going to play musical chair. You're going to play musical chairs with that world title. You're going to play musical chairs with contendership. You're going to play musical chairs with who's in the business and who just got their walking paper. It's a very tough weight class. It is extremely competitive. And there's no weight class where 1 through 10 are more similar than different. There is no weight class. If I go look at the heavyweights and I tell you the champion and I tell you number 10, you go, man, that's a mismatch. You'd be right. Same thing at light heavyweight, same thing on down, same thing through the women's division. Men's, 135 pounds, 1 through 10. You want to put that in a tournament format, by example, where we could actually prove this through a competitive architecture. Go have a tournament, put the 1 through 10, have a tournament. Now go have that same tournament with those same 10 guys 3 more times. 100% guarantee you we get different results all the way down. From who's going to win the tournament to who's going to come in 5th to who's going to come in number 10. They are going to change that. It's going to look like something totally different. Just one of those weights, one of those times. So for the fact of Cheeto to get over on Sean shouldn't be all that big of a surprise. If Sean would have beaten Cheeto, wouldn't have been all that big of a surprise. For reasons unknown to me that are now clear to the world as a whole, Cheeto was completely dismissed in this buildup. Sean went into that fight like a 3 or 3.5 to 1 favorite. Sean's a great fighter. Cheeto Vera has won 6 of his last 6. Now, before you correct me, I'm well aware that officially he won 5 of his last 6. He should have won all 6. Share my opinion, but it's shared by the masses. It's shared by his opponent, who was given the victory that night, who did not think he won the fight. Let's not try to revise history. Let's accept it and tip our hat to him. Okay, great. Then he's 5 of his last 6. Cheeto Vera won 5 of his last 6 in the most competitive division in the sport. You can't dismiss that guy. He simply cannot be a 3.5 to 1 favorite. He just can't. Just can't. Anybody you're going to put him in there with, 5 of his last 6, 6 of his last 6, however you want to argue that out, that's above impressive. It's amazing. And 2 guys in Sean and Cheeto who were given a tip of the hat by Dana himself, in that they were given a co-main event spot when, by the way, Junior Dos Santos, a former world heavyweight champion, is on the card. These were 2 really good fighters, and that outcome could go any which way, however many times you want to do that fight. There is a bigger story here, which is Sean's ankle. And I do not know the extent of it. But I will tell you, a sprained ankle on the upper part of the ligament where this appears to be happening, in many ways, and many doctors have weighed in and have agreed, is a more worrisome, in terms of longevity and when is this going to heal, injury than the compound fracture suffered by Anderson Silva in the Chris Weidman fight. While one appears to be more gruesome and is certainly more invasive in terms of repair, it can do just that in repair. And an upper ankle sprain, according to many doctors, there was a whole piece done on social media that somebody grabbed of all these doctors from all around the world that watched the fight, and they all weighed in. I'm giving you the overarching analysis and conclusion by them. But apparently there is something with that part of your body that's very tough to heal, and it doesn't need to be broken and separated and pinned back together. It can be very tough to heal. So when Sean's out there fighting, and you guys know why I'm bringing this up, right? This was the second time. He had ended up in a match where he's limping around on one foot to close out the match, and then he does that very famous interview where he's flat on his back, and Joe Rogan gets down on his hands and knees and interviews him like this. It was a great moment, great piece of television. But we know that Sean has this, and Sean comes out and he's throwing kicks. He looked great. Quite frankly, Sean O'Malley looked great. He was controlling distance and range, which is very hard to do. Those are largely words that some analysts will give to you, but it's a very hard thing to actually do, to control range and know where you are. And I was watching Sean's beady little eyes. If you go back and watch this fight, go back, watch it again, and just watch Sean's eyes. They never leave the target. He is completely focused. And in this kind of a sport, you have two places to look. You can either look at the athlete's chest or you can look at his head. But as an athlete, you're going to look at one of the two. I don't know if Sean was locked in on his face or his chest, but whichever one he was locked in on, there was nothing that could make him change his mind. He'd have kicks thrown at him. He'd block the kicks and he'd never leave the target. He'd have punches. He'd deal with the punches or eat the punch, and he'd never lose his focus. Very interesting if you watch Sean's eyes. He was very engaged in this match. Very good focus. And then he starts landing some kicks himself. He's landing them to the leg. He's landing them to the body. But the one thing with a kick, that can really hurt your ankle. If you're having ankle issues and any part of your ankle touches that target, right? I mean, you get it. That just makes sense. But to share with you how this happened, that would be a good guess. Also, just moving around the octagon, he could have had a strange moment. Similar to something that happened to Michael Chandler versus Brent Primus, if you guys saw that fight. You just have one of these moments where it's hard to identify where did this happen. But we know what happened. So at some point in the fight, Sean goes down. He drops down to a knee and pops right back up. And the announcers never touched on it. I was watching this whole thing. The announcers didn't say anything. And I remember as the moments were going on right after that, 2 and 3 seconds after, and nothing was said, I remember thinking, Chael, maybe you saw that wrong. Maybe that was old crazy Sean O'Malley doing some kind of a setup that we've never seen before where he drops to a knee and comes back up and hope that right. Remember when Tony reached down against Gaethje and he threw mythical sand in Gaethje's face as a way to set him up and do whatever behind? Sometimes maybe that's what Sean was doing. I talked myself into this because nobody said anything about it that have a better view than I did. So it happens again. Something happens. They're not engaged. They're completely disengaged. And Sean goes down again and has to pop back up. Well, that one they did pick up. I was like, okay, my eyes aren't playing tricks on me. I am seeing this is happening. And then Sean begins to keep a little bit more space. He begins getting a little closer to the fence and he starts doing some lateral motion. And lateral motion is very tough to do on a bad ankle, exemplified on a bad ankle. And he was having a hard time. And it wasn't effective him. And these eyes never changed. I'm watching the eyes. I'm going, Again, maybe something's happening and I'm seeing this wrong because he's fully engaged. He's not wincing. He's not wilting. He's not flinching. He's watching his target and he's dealing with whatever he has to do with. Then all of a sudden he goes down and Cheeto sprung on it right. I mean, 4 elbows and you could hear him crack, 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 crack. Bad elbows, good stoppage. But you are left with how bad is this ankle and what do we need to do? I mean, I can tell you this just from being in Vegas, from seeing the weigh-in, from seeing the walkout, from the energy and the something special that Sean O'Malley and only Sean O'Malley brings right now. The Suga show is not over, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Now, the tour bus might have a flat tire. The Suga show is not over. And in so many ways, a loss to a seemingly invincible guy is very helpful down the road. And I understand what you're thinking, and no, I am not maintaining that being completely undefeated is better than having one loss. But being completely undefeated in this sport is such a rare thing that can only go to Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's just a really rare thing. Not only right now can it go to Khabib, over the history of time, it can only go to Khabib. One guy just to prove how rare it is. When you have a guy that is very invincible and he shows any level of invincibility, including an injury to his ankle that makes him fall down in a contest where he'd prefer to be standing up, I mean, very, very meaningful, but any kind of invincibility can be very helpful down the road. I mean, it can add some parity, it can add some matchmaking. I didn't hear a whole lot of guys calling Sean out before this fight. I heard Sean calling a lot of guys out. They weren't speaking up. Oh, go win some more. They were trying to dismiss him while looking macho. Oh, go win a couple more. Earn your way. Well, He'd won every fight they put in front of him. What more do you want from the guy? But now all of a sudden, guys are a little bit more chirpy. It's not quite as insulting to them as perhaps it's sounding to me right now. I'm more attempting to prove the point that doors do actually open. And while Sean's probably not feeling that with a bag of ice on his ankle right now, it is a reality. And there is a time, and it's going to be in a short period of time, he will look back, hear this, and go, oh, Chael was right. Sean, you've been all right through this whole buildup. You got everyone right. Right now, I'm right.